Okay, we are now recording. Okay, so the meeting is called to order at 6:05, and the message is as followed. This message is to be read on behalf of Dundee Township Supervisor Patricia Glees. This meeting of the Dundee Township Cemetery Board will be held via video audio conference call in accordance with the Illinois Governor's executive orders and disaster declarations regarding the COVID-19 pandemic. Senate Bill 2135, signed into law by Governor Pritzker, addresses electronic meetings during time periods when the governor of the state of Illinois has issued a disaster declaration like the situation we are in now. Pursuant to this new law, this Dundee Township Cemetery Board meeting will be conducted by audio or video conference without a physically present quorum of the Dundee Township Cemetery Board because of a disaster declaration related to COVID-19 and public health concerns affecting the township. Pursuant to the new law, Dundee Township Supervisor Patricia Glees has determined that an in-person meeting at the township building with participants is not practical nor prudent because of the disaster. Township officials, legal counsel, appointed board members, and the township administrator will not be physically present at the township building due to the disaster. This meeting video is being video recorded and will be made available to the public via the Dundee Township website as provided by law, and all votes will be by roll call. The general public had the opportunity to receive access to this meeting by requesting via email or telephone call by April 13th at 5 p.m. to the Dundee Township Office Manager, Robert Block, at info@dundeetownship.org or by dialing 847-428-8092, extension 2. All right. With that being said, we will take the official roll call. Physically present, I believe, is only Secretary Block. Attending remotely, Supervisor Glees. We have Trustee Gullickson, Trustee Bartelt, and Cemetery Manager Rako. Okay. I do not see any members of the public who have requested or have dialed in, so there are no public comments. We will move on then to the approval of the minutes from the January 12th meeting. Those minutes were distributed to you. Are there, give you a minute or two to pull that up, and then any comments or corrections?
I have a correction on the 2019 year-to-date numbers down on the bottom of the first page.
Okay.
I think those might have been third quarter numbers.
Okay.
If you want to just, the correct numbers for the 2019 year-to-date, full-size burials were 65. Cremations were 37. Columbarium, 5. Infants, 5. For a total of 112.
Okay.
Okay.
That's all I had for corrections.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And by roll call vote, Trustee Gullickson,
Aye.
Trustee Bartelt.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. All right, moving on to the agenda. We always have it on there, the columbaria and update on the overall project. I don't really think we have too much to go over there. We've had a few additional sales, correct, Mark?
Yeah, just very, very briefly. 2020, we had 3 sales of niches and 1 ossuarium sale. And 2021, for the first 3 months, we have 2 sales year to date.
we are, I know it sounds kind of repetitive, but we are working on some marketing and hopefully we'll get that moving during the second quarter here. We do have plans again if can get help from Katie Meyer here again in our office to do some of the planting in the cemetery Columbari area around the planters, and maybe put in a few other annuals around the existing unit for decoration purposes.
I was gonna wait for new business, but as long as you touched on it, we're talking about it. I don't have a recommendation of what type of plants. I'm not a gardener, but I think with everybody's lack of time, and especially with our situation at the cemetery getting busier, I'd like to consider if putting some type of perennials in there instead of the annuals. I mean, I'm not opposed to some annuals in addition to, but there's such a large area that we tried to keep watered last year. It's so much work and effort to keep those things alive that I'd like to see or get a recommendation from either a local nursery or Katie's expertise, or not prairie plants, just something that's just some perennial type flowers that just keep coming back, and maybe spread and fill in, because it's just it's a ton of work to make that area. It's so large to make it look good. It'd be nice to just see something pop up in the spring like now.
Yes, I'm kind of focusing just solely on the planters, and then the one small area really adjacent to the columbari. I'm not worried about the rest of the ring at this point.
Oh, not the ring. I'm just talking about the big circle is that's a lot of
Oh, yeah.
planting, and a lot of the annuals. Either we killed them from lack of maintenance, or they just didn't do real well. Something that doesn't require so much attention and that comes back every year, even in that circle. And the planters, those look very nice with annual. But I'm talking about the center right outside
Okay.
the three potential columbariums. Yeah, the rest of the prairie stuff, I'm not worried about that.
Okay. All righty. So noted.
Good.
That's all I had on that.
Okay. The burial and lot sales update. I think we did the history. I think you presented your annual and then a quarterly year to
chart.
date pie chart and everything there. If you want to briefly go over that.
Yeah, just you guys have it in front of you as far as the January through March. This year we had a total of 44 events. Last year for the same period we had 31. And so that was last year pretty much was what pre-COVID, as is now we're I guess we're still technically in the COVID period, but we're up 13 burials this year from a year ago, and none of this is COVID related as far as the deaths. So just typical increase in, I don't know if it'll continue annually, but that's where we're at year to date.
And just the aside comment I would make from doing the deeds, and that it appears too that
Sales.
a lot of the burials are people buying graves for at time need. It's not as in the past a heavy concentration of people using existing graves.
Right. And we've had, well, you can see from our last year's sales, it was quite a year.
Okay.
That's all I got on that.
Okay.
Okay.
Review of the budget results. You have I sent you the fiscal year data, which concluded in February. And as Mark said, probably the biggest things to note are the revenue. We had projected or hoped that we'd be at around 387,000 in revenue. We ended the year at just shy of 500,000 in revenue. And on the flip side, we only spent 330,000 roughly. So we showed a nice net increase of about 170,000 revenue over expenses.
What was the cause of that? I mean, was it just because of the additional burials, or?
Largely, we had forecast, or when the big board set the budget last year, they trimmed the projection on cemetery lot sales to 64,000, and we actually did 155,000 in new lot sales this past year. Similarly, they had cut the anticipated grave opening fees to 74,000, and we did about 97,000 in opening fees. So between those two alone, we were well over 100,000 in excess of budgetary numbers.
Almost 113,000.
Hold on one second. Leo's entered the waiting room here.
Sorry about that, everyone. Finally found the link.
No problem. We'll
Welcome. Glad you're
Hi,
here.
Leo.
Right.
Okay. All right. We're just going over the financial reports, the budget results from last year, mainly noting the significant increase in revenue and the well-controlled expenses leading to a nice positive.
Now, does that excess stay within our pot to utilize accordingly for our needs?
Yes.
And it doesn't get dispersed into any other?
No, once funds are in the cemetery fund or another specific fund like general assistance, that money stays there. It can't be used for other purposes like the general town fund or that sort of thing. So this money, what we'll take a look at is we'll see exactly what the forecast looks like for this year and how we're trending. And then the thought would be to probably transfer some of this money back to the state of Illinois investment funds where we could earn a bit higher rate of interest and accrue that money or accumulate it for future capital projects or backup finances should things turn around and go the other way. Somewhere down the road, we will need to add the second columbaria unit. That'll probably be in the $65,000 to $70,000 range. So if we can set aside most of that money now in the investment fund, that would be good.
Is there a trigger point at which we start seriously looking at the second columbaria unit with regard to how full the first one is? I mean, if it's 70% full or if it's 90% full, or what triggers the construction process, if you will?
Yeah, I think the two factors are of course, the number of niches that have been sold, probably somewhere around the 80% range. And then the second is the rate of usage. I mean, certainly if you're only doing, as we have been, 5 or so a year, you wouldn't jump quite as quickly. but it's got a lead time probably of about I think it's 4 months. So we'd want to be a little bit ahead of the game. And the base is already there. We don't have any special construction to do, so it is a relatively simple installation process.
Mhm.
Right now, we still have 71 unsold niches out of 96. So
Right.
we've got quite a ways to
Well, after
go.
your great marketing program this year, I'm sure we'll.
Yeah, we got to get that off the ground.
Yes.
So I would think if we got down, if we sold another 50 or 55, probably time to start thinking about it. But at this rate, that could be 10 years,
Hmm.
which I don't think it will be. I mean, something's got to change here eventually.
Well, I think more and more people, as we saw this year, people are not utilizing graves that their family had, or they just don't have any. They're looking for alternatives, and as the cost of markers and other thing goes up, the
Right.
columbaria becomes more attractive, as indeed more people are choosing cremation over full-size burials.
Yeah. We're trying every time there's an interest, we're comparing the two. I mean, the package right now, it's still at 1825. Is that what it is for? I don't have my
Yes. Yeah.
1825 complete is about $1,000 less than traditional in ground for two people. So the biggest thing that we've talked about before is just the initial cost. You got to come up with 1825 today. You can't pay for part of it if there's an interment. So, but I don't think that's really affecting these sales yet. But we've had a couple of them that they were interested and they ended up going with the in ground route. So I don't know what it's going to take, but we'll see.
Did they express to any reasoning to you for that decision?
No, some people, I think they just have, I don't know, I guess it's the terminology of actually being buried, that they prefer that instead of, being, in an above ground structure. I don't know if it's the security that they feel better that they're in the ground instead of on a shelf. But yeah, I haven't really got a whole lot of feedback why they chose. Some I think is financial without, pushing too far. And other people have bought it because I've told them the comparison in price, and for them it was a no-brainer. Let's go in the columbarium instead of in the ground. So
I think conceptually too, there's a, I mean, it's not exactly a brand new idea, but
right.
the whole concept is to this immediate area is a little bit on the newer side.
Right.
And so there's a period of acceptance that needs to take place, I guess.
And I think the people that are pre-planning, the couple of them, well, the two that I think I've sold, both of them were, husband and wife came in and looked and basically pre-planning for their family. So the kids don't have to make the decision and they know where they're going to go. It's, I think if the other way around, like if you lose a parent and then have to make that decision, especially if it wasn't a planned death, do we go in the ground or do we consider this alternative of a niche that a lot of people don't even know we had them or didn't even know what it was all about? And
Right.
those, I think, are the ones that are going to, they talked about cremation. They always thought they're going to be buried in the ground. So let's put them there. So,
Mhm.
So I know we've got the area set for it. What's the lead time?
to get a
For,
structure,
Is that?
I don't know,
is this,
Bob, you
like-
know what?
It's running about 4 to 6 months.
I was going to say about 6 months. Never
Because-
ordering one, but
Yeah. Like when we bought this first one, the biggest delay we had was the mine where they get that particular color of granite ran into a bad vein. And so we were delayed like a month or 6 weeks until they could clear a new vein of granite
granted,
to be able to produce the unit. So but it's nothing that is like a 2-year, 3-year cycle.
All right, so basically this is something that can get basically planned out over an 18-month period. So it's
Oh,
not,
absolutely.
so it's not something that we're going to push to like 90-95%.
No.
Or if we say 75%, then we still have plenty of time to put it in.
That's correct.
All right.
Yes, because the foundation is already there. We poured 2 additional footings and foundations when we did the overall construction. So for the units 2 and 3, all we really have to do is the truck comes in, you have a crane there and it booms it over, and they set it and secure it on the existing pad, and we're ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
So that's basically where the thrust of the marketing campaign is going to become directed toward education and
Correct.
benefits, education and benefits of considering this as a viable alternative to going in the ground.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I guess kind of rolling over to the next thing is the our favorite decoration issues and perhaps policy revision.
Well, why don't you take a minute? I'm sure you've already seen the pictures that Bob sent. That was from our mass winter cleanup, which we completed last week. We delayed it a couple days because of Easter falling so close to the end of our traditional March cleanup. We left a lot of the things through Easter, and the result is in those photographs. As far as policy revisions, every time something comes up that somebody complains about, I go back to our existing policy. Everything technically is there. All we've done is create a little handout, a decoration policy handout. It just reiterates what it already says in our complete rules and regulations. Just tries to break it down where our biggest problems are crosses and shepherd's hooks. And so we have a handout explaining to them, they can only have 1 plant per hook. A cross can only be 36 inches tall without modifications. We had, I think, last year for everybody or anybody that was in the last couple of meetings, we've had a lot of cross modifications with adding solar lights to the arms of the cross and to the top of the cross, plant hooks added to the arms of the cross to hang plants. Every one of those crosses has been removed. So far, actually, I'm not going to say it's been a good reception. People are understanding. We had 2 people pick up their crosses today to take them home to either modify them or come back with something new if they so chose to do. But, and same thing was going with shepherd's hooks. We've had some very creative families that must have welding capabilities that have added additional arms to a shepherd's hook, incorporated solar lights to the top of the shepherd's hook, or welded across to the top of the shepherd's hook. We have a limit of 5 feet, has been 5 feet forever. We were getting up to close to 7 feet with some of these modifications. So just to keep it simple, we got it under, well, if anybody has an opportunity to drive through there in the next few days, or if you saw it in the last month and then come back this week, it looks like a different place. So hopefully we can, Eric has been a real plus as far as with his Spanish speaking ability to go out with people and explain to them, we can try, or I can try to explain, but it really makes a difference when he can get one-on-one with these people and tell them why we took down their decorations. So I'm hoping for a good year. My biggest concern is, manpower and time. It looks great now, but obviously we just started mowing this week. We have 63 new graves to level and fill with new black dirt. and seed, and we got about 20 done. So I hope that we can keep up with what we started with the decoration cleanup and hopefully maintain it through the summer.
Are the rules and regs that you hand out, are they available bilingual?
No, not at this time. That's our next step, just with the decoration handout, not with the complete rules and regulations. But the decoration policy, we will do that. Like I say, right now we've had Eric, if he sees somebody out at a grave where he knows a problem, he's been, of course, up until knowing, running out there and telling them. We gave a lot of people, this started kind of a campaign we started with him last fall to get to as many people as he could, to tell them when spring comes, there's going to be some big changes. And probably half of the people, did take it to heart and correct them on their own. And the other half, we had to pull. So yeah, we will work on a Hispanic version of our decoration policy. So if he's not available, Anthony or I can give him the handout in Spanish.
Okay.
It's a challenge, but
Yes, indeed.
we're gonna get through it.
Good.
All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on. Okay. Next thing is the review and potential approval of the revised burial price list. That was sent out.
Yeah, just kind of a refresher. I don't know if you guys have an old price list in front of you. What Bob did this time, which I think is a great idea, is we're just publishing the non-resident prices with that little paragraph on there that if you live and pay taxes to Dundee Township, you will receive a discount, which our discount is 50% of these published prices. One situation I had, I'm not being critical of the funeral homes, but I think with our price sheet, when you hand this, or like if a family goes to a funeral director and they talk about cemeteries, everybody has our price list, and it always showed our resident prices and non-resident prices. We had in the past a lot of customers who end up coming, they come in and with the intent to buy a grave at the old price of $825, and then you find out they don't live in the township, and then you get into the $1,650. Well, then they come back the next day with a relative and they put the deed in that person's name to save the money. And I think some of the funeral homes have told people that if you have a relative that can purchase the grave for you, that's how you can save some money. So with just this price list showing the full price, it might help eliminate some of what's taking place as far as the people buying the graves.
The prices shown here are a moderate increase. The grave spaces for, let's say, a resident had been $825. They now would be $900. The cremation graves had been $500. They would now be $600. So increases there, and then increases in the opening fees for the regular interments. We're also raising that $100 from $700 to $800. Cremains, believe, is up just 50. And the infant is up 100 because that had been probably a little bit lower. And then we've changed the wording a little bit on the additional cremains interred at the same time. And the one thing that we did not add on this draft, but we kind of would like to add as Mark and I have talked about it since we drew this up, is the addition of a winter burial fee surcharge that would take place during the months of December through February to cover the cemetery's additional cost in expendable items such as the charcoal to soften the ground and the extra labor needed to actually open a grave when the ground is frozen. So the suggestion there would be to add on the price sheet a winter surcharge of $100 for a full size, and like we said, 50 on the cremains.
Yes,
So we had proposed that addition to the price list there on page 2.
that's pretty typical and consistent with most cemeteries too, the ones that I've talked to in the past. So it's not nothing unusual. It's probably even on the lower side when you get into the bigger cemeteries.
So are the cremains are these charges, do they apply to the columbarium too, when you put it in
No.
the niche?
No,
No,
this is
what I was
only
gonna-
in ground.
this is only in ground. And what I was going to say too, Ken, is that with this increase in the cremation grave, it makes it even a much better savings now for the columbarium. It's looking better.
So that 1850 figure includes putting urns in the columbarium?
Yes,
Yes.
it includes right now. One thing, that's, I would not mess with that at this point, but at some time, because, typically you're going to have two separate openings, which with a cremation, I mean, you obviously have the first person at $450 for the opening fee, and then the second person would be $450. In the columbarium, we only have a package price right now that doesn't say an additional fee for the second opening. The only thing we address on the price sheet for the columbarium is additional graving charges, like a final date. But right now it's just a package. So I would probably leave that alone until that really starts, the sales start picking up. And then we might have to consider a second opening fee for the columbarium for the second cremain at a later date. And that's what we kind of use as our sales pitch too, that you buy the package, anybody that buys it now before there's any additional interment charges, everything's included. And whether it's this year or 5 years from now, you're paid for.
And then there wouldn't be any additional surcharge for winter internment in
No.
the
In the columbarium,
columbarium,
right?
because you don't have to really thaw anything out.
No. So that's
Okay.
another plus.
Okay.
Okay.
Did we didn't print that on the, is this this becomes the published price list then or do you have a separate price list for the columbarium then, or?
Yes,
how does it work?
columbarium is separate.
Okay,
And the only thing that we should probably consider doing, Bob, maybe is just maybe reprinting it and just put a new date. It makes
Okay.
it look like it's antiquated when it has a 2017 date on it.
Okay.
And maybe we could do that at our next cemetery board meeting. I should really take a look at that and see if there's really no issues have come up. But we should revisit that maybe at our June meeting.
Okay, we'll do that next meeting.
Okay.
maybe by then we can meet in person.
I hope.
We'll see. All right, any other discussion or questions on the price list? Otherwise, we'd entertain a motion to approve as amended with the winter surcharge rates.
I'll
So
move
moved.
it.
I'll second.
Okay, so that was Dave and Ken, right?
Yes.
Great.
Okay, roll call vote. Trustee Gullickson,
Aye.
Trustee Bartelt,
Aye.
and Trustee Bernardi.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Carried. Okay, thank you. And did we need to review that list again, Mark, on the used equipment sale?
No, the only thing that I'm waiting on is just what you're gonna check with our council, I think, and find
Right.
out exactly what we needed to do
Right.
to get rid of this.
Okay. Yep. Still waiting to hear on that. So we'll move that forward as soon as we can.
Okay?
All right. Moving right along. New business, the the approval or review and approval of the permanent mats, the track mats. I believe I included, I sent over to you an email with the brochure on track mats. I don't know if I sent it to you, Mark.
I got it.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
And I had sent one over with Dave. And
Right.
these are plastic mats that would take the place of the use of plywood to move like the backhoe, other equipment in and around the graves. And I gather would also possibly help with the lining of the area around the graves during the service.
Yes. One thing that, well, let's talk about the concept first. We've been using plywood, well, I think forever. I've been using it obviously the 10 years I've been there. We're buying approximately 20 sheets a year. We cut it in half. They're 2 feet wide. I don't know if anybody's bought any wood lately. We use the cheapest grade of 3/4 inch plywood, and it's just over $50 or $51 a sheet now. And it lasts, well, we're using about 20 sheets a year. We usually buy 10 in the spring and we buy 10 in the fall. And so we're spending over $1,000, or spending approximately, this year we would have spent probably $1,000 on plywood. These track mats, as Bob started to say, are made out of rubber. In the interim, I've been having a little trouble with this track mat company. You cannot call them and talk to them. I've been on online chats, and twice, I don't know if they just quit chatting with me in the middle of the conversation. I had one guy, I thought I almost got to the end. He said, I will send you a quote. I told him what I was looking at. I never received a quote. In the interim, I ran into a company, it's called Great Mats. Obviously, they're taking the concept of the track mat word. They're in Wisconsin. They're made in the USA. I have a written quote on those. They're 3 feet wide and 8 feet long for 20 pieces or 20 units. They're $216 per panel per piece, which would be $4,320. And they also have a lifetime guarantee, which I just found out this afternoon at about 3 o'clock. I was trying to get some specifics as far as weight and things like that. I talked to a person on the telephone twice today from a company, which is kind of nice to talk to someone in today's world. And they also have 4 foot wide units, which I think are a little bit too big. They were about $10 a sheet less. They're imported. They're made in Czechoslovakia, which I'm not opposed to that. But I was pretty much intrigued to find out that these great mats were actually manufactured in the United States and had a lifetime guarantee versus a 6-year guarantee on the track mat. So I'm not ready to jump yet. I'm getting pretty close, but to see if there's any other manufacturers on this. And I never really did get a real quote on track mat other than online. One of their distributors, theirs were 44 inches wide, and they were about $320 a piece, which was a list price. So it would be an additional $1,000 if we went with the track mat brand. So I will continue to research, but I would like, I guess your feeling on the concept. Bluff City Cemetery uses them, and Mount Hope uses them. And tomorrow I'm hoping to call someone and talk to at Mount Hope. And they do their own digging out there and just see how long they've had their track mats, and if they have anything to just some feedback, talking to somebody one-on-one. But it would certainly be worth a try. Especially if, with a lifetime guarantee, I don't know what exactly that means. Also with talking with the lady on these 4-foot ones, they have a 3-year guarantee, the ones that are made in Czechoslovakia. They've been selling them for years, and she told me that she doesn't remember ever having a claim. But I like the written lifetime guarantee better than I like seeing 3 or lifetime versus 3 years. So I think they're probably equally as good.
These mats are specifically designed to carry the weight of the digging equipment and stuff that's
Yeah.
obviously.
Ironically too, the ones that are made in the United States, the 3-footers that I think are, these things weigh about 60 pounds a piece. So it's a 2-man job when we can lay them down one at a time, because we pull them on a trailer and one guy pulls them off and one guy pulls forward. Obviously loading them up will be a 2-man process, but the 3-foot by 8-foot panels, they're rated for 120 tons. The 4-foot is rated for 80 ton, and the track mat brand that started this whole concept, I think those were around 60 or 80 ton. They weren't more than 80. So
Now the surface, you said that this is to be placed around the grave.
these are primarily, Ken, these are used when we have to pull the equipment in, the backhoe in to get to the grave, especially when it's wet. The only time we don't use any, we wouldn't use these mats or plywood is in the wintertime when the ground is frozen, or in the summer when it's bone dry, which if we're in a drought period, we can typically drive without boarding in all the way to the grave. Yes, and we do put boards around the grave, not during a funeral, but just for digging and filling purposes. So they don't stay out. They're just primarily to drive on. And one thing that has been an issue with the 2-foot wide plywood, to try to lay that out and to drive the backhoe down the center of it, or to back the dump truck to keep it in the middle. If you get to the edge of the plywood, you're probably better off with not having anything on the ground, because the edge of the plywood digs in, and we have actually a bigger mess than if we maybe would have drove through, on the ground itself. But the ground conditions in 17 and any of the sections, I mean, when it's wet, it's a disaster. So if these things, if we got 10 years out of these, we'd be money ahead.
I was just concerned that maybe I didn't understand. I thought maybe that these were there and people were walking on them, and
No.
slippery surface if it's get wet and all that.
Yeah.
So,
The other thing that a service that we don't offer, but it would be nice, especially like in the middle of our new section 17, is these, they're textured on both sides, and it could be used as a walking path, especially when we do have mud, and with the spring rains and fall rains and the spring thaw in particular. We pull up, a lot of times we could leave the plywood out, from the opposite direction, so we don't have to, pick it, lay it down to dig the grave, and we pick it up, lay it down to fill the grave. We could possibly even use these mats, for people to walk on if we feel they're safe. Plywood, especially if it gets any type of mud or dirt on it and it's wet, it becomes an ice skating rink.
sure
So this rubber might be, it might open up a lot of opportunities to make things nicer for the people coming to attend funerals, and especially for us, the mess that we make and to try, and the repairs that we have to do are sometimes unbelievable just to dig one grave. So I don't want to use the word try, but I think this could be a good thing. And if these things,
Is this something that we have in the budget now? Or is this something that has to be approved by the board or by the big board?
no, we can take it out of the budget as far as maintenance of grounds. Bob, is that correct? Under contractual expense?
Just looking. Yeah, we've got, remember of the 22 we've got in there, 11,000 is for the finishing of the repair from the car accident. So
Some
we've got-
of that, there's about 8,000 left. I
yeah,
think we
It's like
paid
8
out
or 9.
3.
8 or 9. So the rest of it there, yeah, if we're looking at 4.
If you round it off to 5, 11 minus 5, we'd still have 6,000 for
Yeah,
other maintenance.
Yep.
Have you bought plywood for this year already, or?
We bought 10 sheets out of last year's budget. So
So we have 10 sheets of plywood in stock right now.
yes,
Okay. What's the
well,
lead?
it's already, I mean, we rip it in half. So we actually have 20 pieces, but we've already, I'm not saying it's half used, but it's been well used this spring already.
What is the lead time? If you place the order today or tomorrow on these mats, what are we looking at?
I don't know, but I'm guessing it's probably going to be, a month or 2. So it's something that, by the time, I mean, if we can probably get by with, well, we'll have to get by. We've been getting by forever with the plywood, but we should be in good shape till, depending on how wet of a summer we have, we should be in good shape till, midsummer to fall. Nothing I have to order tomorrow because I have to find out about the
Need a
delivery.
motion by the trustees to push this forward then, or to give the okay for it, or what's the process?
I mean, it would be nice to just have the trustees' approval because it is a larger expense, but since it's already in the draft budget where we would take it out, we wouldn't really be making any changes to the proposed budget.
Well, it seems to make sense to me. It's a reusable product that serves our purpose well. It's a little bit wider than the 2-foot strips. We don't have to mess around with cutting the plywood up. Not that that's a big labor, but that is a little bit of an additional expense and time consumed by employees that need to be doing other things. That's probably done
Yes.
or,
Yeah.
or less, but and then the storage, I think it's a no-brainer. If there's a product out there that does that, serves that purpose, and has a strong warranty with it, it's made in the United States, and it just seems to me to make a lot of sense.
Okay.
Do you want a motion to that effect? Bob,
Yeah,
would you
I think that would be good.
I'll
Okay,
move
I move that we proceed with the purchase of these mats, and place an order for it as soon as possible so we can get it into their system and get it set up.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call vote or any discussion? Otherwise, roll call vote to Trustee Gullickson, Trustee Bartelt,
All right,
and Trustee Bernardi. Oh. Leo, you're on mute yet. Okay.
You got them?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, we'll get his vote if we have to later. All right, let's move on to the bid for the Kubota. I think we had already discussed in general, had we not?
We just need to get the, obviously subject to the big board adopting our budget. I had Bob put this on there, just said I want to get the bid packets prepared and ready to go. So when the board adopts our budget, I can get them out, because we're probably looking at, again, a couple of months. We gotta get the bids out for 30 days and then schedule the bid opening. So once again, the sooner the better to get that behind us.
Yeah, the board is meeting, the big board is
Is that
meeting,
tomorrow?
no, May 5th,
What day?
May 5th.
They don't have an April meeting?
They have an April meeting, but there was a snafu with the notice for the meeting, and the council, being their ever conservative nature, said we had to renotice the budget hearing. So instead of being April
Oh.
21st, it's going to be May 5th.
Okay,
So hopefully action will take place as we would assume, and we'll have a budget by May 6th.
and then we can get the bid packets out.
Yes, so you probably would be looking
Probably.
at, if we got them out promptly after that, depending upon the will of the new board that's coming in.
We could have a bid opening in June.
Could be a bid opening in June, subject to the will of the new board and any other new elected officials that are involved.
Did we do the last bid with the last Kubota? Did we do that at a big board meeting? Or do we do
Yes.
that at was it big board?
The bids have to be opened at a full board of trustees meeting of the township.
Okay,
And then
So
once
then
the
the-
bids are open and a low bid is determined, then we're looking at what, 6 months for delivery of the new machine?
well, the last one happened to come in about a month and a half, which was, I think I'm assuming that that Russo would probably get the bid again. I think they might have, I don't want to say several. There's a lot of base units, I think, and they do a lot of the accessories in-house. So I think the biggest time is they probably have the machine, the basic unit in their inventory, and then just accessorize it with our options. Almost every one of them is a bolt-on type option. So it could, I'm gonna say probably 60 days, Ken.
So we'd still be able to make use of it in late
This
summer,
fall.
early
Yep.
fall.
Yep, late summer, early fall, which would be perfect.
All right.
And hopefully that our other one will service us through that period. So that's all I
Okay.
got on that.
All right, we don't need to take any further action there. Anything then on the cemetery manager's report issues, or?
No, the only thing I had was that I was gonna bring up on our old business. I had a note on the side here and I forgot about it, was that you were gonna look into the credit card costs if we were to accept credit cards or debit cards at the cemetery. I just, I haven't, I didn't forget about it. I'm forgetting to ask you where we're at with that, if you have any information or not.
Well, I don't have any new information because I did forget to look into it.
Okay.
But the last time we went down this road, the cost is there's a monthly rental fee, I believe, if I remember correctly, for the rent
Machine,
of the machine and the hookup. So there's like a ongoing monthly service fee. And then there is the, depending on the credit card, anywhere from a 2.5 to more likely a 6 or so percent fee for accepting the credit card payments, especially since we would be a low volume account.
User.
You get lower fees if you're a McDonald's franchise
Oh, yeah.
or somebody else that's pushing a number of transactions per month. I can't imagine that we would do more than maybe 10 a month
Oh,
on
yeah, if that.
average.
They-
So,
yeah. The one thing that I didn't have a whole lot of detail because we brought it up as an idea at our January meeting. And then you were gonna check with, I think, First American Bank or whatever. I had that printout from that what do you call it, that Apple Square that you attach to a cell phone, which a lot of organizations and, like Dave, you're familiar, a manual, like when they
Right.
had their auction that my daughter ran. I mean,
Right.
they use this, they give you the device and you only pay
Right.
the fees when you use it. I mean, you plug it on your phone, you swipe it. But I don't know if you use their bank, if you set it up with your bank, and the fees it was nothing, I never saw anything more than 2.5% with I don't have my packet from my last meeting here, but if we could do something like that meets the requirements of the township, possibly legal opinion from council. I mean, that we can do that. And if those fees were good for us, I mean, as an organization, like as a township, I mean, we're not a church or school doing a fundraiser, but and it is going to be low volume. I mean, it's those handful of people that we stun when we tell them we don't take credit or debit, and so
okay.
I'll do
Yeah,
some more
well-
research on it, on that part of it from the Square perspective, and see if there's something that, very low volume. If we have it, and have to pay a fee, and like I say, and I think you trustees agreed to whatever the fee is. If it's 3%, you tell people that yes, we can accept your card, but there's a 3% service fee, and I think that I don't think we'd have any trouble collecting that.
Okay.
But it may be low volume in terms of quantities of charges made, but the charges that are made are higher dollar value.
It'd be higher dollars, yes.
They're not
Yes.
charging $20 or $30 items. They're charging,
Yeah.
Hundreds or
100
thousands.
or more. So
Yeah, we'll have to revisit it. I know when we had the presentation last time by the bank we use, it was targeted on number of transactions, and
Yeah.
the fee structure was such that it was kind of impractical. But we'll
so it's
revisit it.
targeted on number of transactions, not on dollar volume.
Right.
Because 6% of $1,800 is quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but realistically, if you're only doing 10 a month and say you're getting six, what is that? Say on 1,000, 3% would be $30. So if you're only getting $200 a month or $300 a month in service fees, they're not as excited as if you're, running 100 transactions a day, even if those are only an average of 50 cents a piece.
Yeah. Well, see if we can find somebody with a low volume usage, or we don't have to. Yeah, it would be. I mean, yeah, it would be silly to pay a monthly rental fee on a machine that you may or may not use for a month or two.
Right.
So I'll check it out a little further.
Okay.
That's all I have.
All right. Anybody else have anything for the group tonight? Otherwise, it's only 7:05. We can accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second,
Okay. Roll call. Trustee Gullickson,
Aye.
Trustee Bartelt,
aye.
Trustee Bernardi.
Aye.
Good. All righty, gentlemen. Thank you for your time this evening, and we'll get working on these other items and we'll see you at the June meeting, hopefully.
Okay, keep up the
All
good
right.
work.
Thank you.
Have a
Been
good
a-
night.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take
guys.
care all. Stay
Bye,
safe.
everybody.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.